What's up, Joe? What's up, everybody? March Madness is here, and we're all over it with our man L Dub, who joins us to talk early round upsets, teams to watch, and he'll even give us his Final Four predictions. You don't want to miss it, so hang with us. We'll be right back with Larry Williams on Sports 360. I'm on the phone right now with my man L Dub Williams. We're going to be talking about NCAA basketball. L Dub, what's up, man? How you doing?
I'm great, man. Enjoyed this weekend of basketball.
Yeah, so did I. And now as we're recording this, the brackets are out, and so, everybody's ready for the madness. But as you said, I mean, it was a good weekend of basketball, and, I'd like to start, obviously one of the bigger stories was Zion Williamson coming back. And, look, I'm not a basketball expert, but I've been watching basketball for a long time. And that kid looked good coming back. I mean, he really, really played well in leading Duke to the championship, the conference championship. So first of all, let's start there. What do you think about Zion and his long-awaited return?
He came back better than ever. I think it was just the fact, some kids, get around their 25th, 27th game, they get kind of tired, but that little break paid off for him because he came back energized and ready to play.
Yeah, and he really looked good, and they needed him to play at that level too, because the three games were very, very competitive games, and so they certainly needed him to play at that level. And we'll talk about this in a little bit more in a few minutes. But as Duke heads into the tournament, they got to feel good that their best player is playing his best basketball right now.
Yes, and the question is, you asked the question about Zion coming back. Is what does Zion mean to Duke, man? I think Zion right now is Duke. As he goes, they go. And I know, they got two other players there that are projected to go, top five. But I don't know, with, watching them play without Zion and then seeing Zion come back, and it's kind of like, he had to carry him. It was a different feel. It was like he was, on an island almost. He was doing everything, that the team needed whenever they needed it, and he was doing it with consistency while everybody else was kind of struggling.
Yeah, and it makes you wonder how that's going to play out as they go into the tournament. Now, I said a moment ago that the brackets are out, so I would imagine by now, we're talking on Monday afternoon, that you have completed your bracket, right?
Correct.
Okay, and you're not going to change it, right? You're not one of them guys that does a bracket in pencil. You do your bracket in pen, don't you?
It's in pen. It's in ink. I already got my asterisks by the upset. I also got game circles that's showing the big guys that get knocked out. And I don't change, man. Again, everybody's got an opinion, but I've watched them all year, so I hope I know a little bit.
Okay, all right. So then, all right, you filled out your bracket. So now you mentioned you have certain things circled and all that type of thing. So let me ask you this: you filled out your bracket. We know who all the top seeds are, and the expectations and all that. But what about this? How do you see the tournament playing out for some of the top seeds? What do you see as perhaps some of the early exits in the tournament?
So early exit for me is defined that when you got a number one or a number two or a number three seed that goes out the bracket before they get to the quarterfinals, to me that's an upset. I mean,
right.
That's how I view upsets. So the first upset is probably going to stun everyone because I definitely have Wofford beating Seton Hall, which is, that's a Big Ten opponent against a Southern Conference opponent. And Seton Hall Seton Hall actually is lower ranked, but we're talking about two different, a small conference and a big conference. And after Wofford does that, they're going to go into the next round, and I see them in the round of 32 beating Kentucky, simply because they have scorers and shooters that I don't think Kentucky is going to want to defend against as much as, as they would a team that they was playing in the Southeast Conference that grinds it out.
Now, that one's going to surprise a lot of people. So you see Wofford getting past Seton Hall and then beating Kentucky.
Correct. Kentucky plays in with Abilene Christian. That's not even going to be a game. So, that's kind of like a warm-up game. So, actually, that's really going to be Kentucky's first game in the tournament when they do face Wofford. And I think Wofford's going to have a head of steam simply because they've already beaten Seton Hall.
Okay. So you see Kentucky going out in the second round. Who else do you see coming out before we get to the quarterfinals among the top seeds?
Well, you got the play-in game over there in the West where Arizona State and St. John has to play in. And I think Arizona State's going to prevail in that game. Then they're going to be faced with Buffalo, who's been ranked, in the top 20 all year long. And they're the 6th seed, while Arizona State's going to be 11th seed. And I see Arizona State beating Buffalo in that round. So that's the first round basically for Buffalo. And I see Arizona State winning that.
Okay. All right. That's it. You got anything else for us?
Not within the first 2 rounds. If we go into the third rounds, I think a whole lot of people are going to be surprised with my picks.
All right. So so hold on a second. Hold on, 20-second timeout before we get to that one. Okay. So you're going to have some other things coming for us. 'Cause I'm still trying to get over this Kentucky one. I mean, and Kentucky is, they got off to a kind of a rough start early in the season. I think it was Duke that blasted them, right, coming out of the gate. And, I guess they've lost to Tennessee a couple of times, right? And so what is it about Kentucky, though, that you think that they are primed to, get knocked out of the tournament so early?
Hype. You got a lot of kids. You remember now, before Duke, Kentucky was considered the one-and-done school. So kids come there thinking, I'm supposed to be in the NBA, but I got to do this 1 year, so I'm going to do it here at Kentucky because Coach Cal lets us play. He just lets us do what we do. And that, I think, is where the oversight is. A lot of time it has been in the, future of the last few years. They've underachieved to me because if you got all the McDonald All-Americans and the Parade All-Americans, you should be, in the Final Four every year. But that hasn't been the case, with Kentucky, simply because they'll play a team like they're going to play Wofford, and they're going to say, oh, man, we're already looking past them. We're going to take out whoever's next. And that's their mindset because, again, these are 18-year-old kids now. These, you don't bring it with a 32-year-old mind, perception. It's an 18-year-old perception, and he already feels he should be in the NBA. So we know that you overlook one of these young teams where the coach is really coaching and he's got these kids playing well and they love each other and they're playing together. That's going to be a hard job for them to just, put these kids to sleep, especially if Wofford comes out and hits the first 5 or 6 shots. Already you're in turmoil.
Okay. All right. So that's going to be one to certainly keep an eye on. All right. So let's go a little bit deep in the tournament because you said you got some others in your bracket, some of the higher seeds that you think are going to make an earlier exit than some people may anticipate. So take us through a couple of those.
Okay. And I'm thinking Florida State. And Florida State is going to upset Gonzaga in the third round in the Sweet 16. Florida State's, been playing very well. Coach Hamilton, got them all the way to the championship of the ACC tournament. Yeah, they did lose to Duke, but it took Zion to put on a great show, to beat them. And then you had Tennessee, which really, like I said, it's really not an upset, But based on how Tennessee's played over the last maybe 4 or 5 games coming into the tournament, you know, I don't know if everybody expected them to be a number 2 seed, but, you know, maybe 3 or 4, but they got in as a 2 seed. But I think Purdue has been playing better ball than them. So them beating Purdue in my estimate is actually an upset. And I see them beating Purdue.
Okay.
And lastly would be the one that, you know, you're probably going to really have eyes with. I love Zion, but by the time they get to that 3rd round, I think Virginia Tech's going to be figured them out, and Virginia Tech's going to upset them.
Wow. So you see Duke coming out in the Sweet 16. You see Kentucky coming out in the 2nd round, and Gonzaga also being knocked out in the Sweet 16.
Right.
Wow. Okay. And you have this in pen, you said, right?
It's pen.
It's not erasable ink or anything like that. Okay. All right. So So it's in ink. All right. So we got that. So, all right. So you talked about Wofford as being a team that you think, you know, is going to do a little bit of damage, right? You know, beat Seton Hall, and then you have them beating Kentucky. What other team? Because there's always 1 or 2 teams, you know, whether they're Cinderellas or not, but there are 1 or 2 teams that make an unexpected run or do fairly well in the tournament. Who do you think? Who are some of those teams, if you have any, that you think are teams to keep an eye on?
Well, actually, and looking at the bracket, 2 of them are number 3 seeds, and one of them's the number 7 seed. And the 2, 3 seeds are Houston and LSU. I actually think by giving those guys 3 seeds, you put them in a position that they're gonna, you know, do a lot of damage. Simply because right now they're playing for their coaches. You know, use Coach Calvin Sampson. I mean, he's always been able to relate to his players, and his players relate to him, and they give everything for that guy, and he gives everything to them. And as a team, they're probably playing better than anyone. Even though they lost to Cincinnati the other day, I'm still telling you, Houston is a team that no one wants to see, you know, in this bracket. No one. And I see them going all the way to the quarterfinals. And unfortunately, they would have to play North Carolina, who I picked to win it all. So that would be the only pitfall that I could see them running into so early, you know, and that'll be in the quarterfinals. As far as LSU, you know, like I said, they're playing real good, and I think they should have won the SEC when they on that play. If the coach wouldn't have got the technicals and gave them a 6-point lead, and they only losing by 3, I think they'd have won the game. And those kids know that. And with all the turmoil that's going on, they really want to win for Coach Benson. You know, they wanna play and put him in that position. So I see them going all the way to the quarterfinal. And lastly, Nevada, the 7th seed. That's going to be a hard team to beat, man, because, like I say, Coach Musselman had those guys playing great. They played defense. They did get beat in the Mountain West tournament. But, again, sometimes, like I said, I think losing in the tournament, the conference tournament, helps you and gets you more focus for the big tournament. Now that you see you can lose to somebody that probably wasn't going to make the tournament, and then when you get to the tournament, you got to know every game got to be a game-by-game situation. You can't look over anyone. So I see them going on to the quarterfinals.
Okay, so you see Houston going to the quarterfinal, getting knocked out by North Carolina, and you believe Nevada goes to the quarterfinals. What about LSU?
They go to the quarterfinals and get knocked out by Virginia Tech. Someone who has length, but their inside play is just a little bit more skilled than LSU's. LSU has some big guys and athletic, but the skill set inside is still lacking. You know, they don't really, the post players don't really have a lot of go-to moves underneath the score. They usually score from mid-range or facing the basket. Virginia Tech has players that can score around the basket with jump hook shots, up and unders, and definitely they all can jump. They all in ACC, they're athletic as all get up. And the guard play for that team, those two guards are very, very steady. So I see them being real hard to handle when they have to play.
Okay. All right. So now you already mentioned that North Carolina is your team to win it all. So what about the Final Four? Who do you have as your Final Four teams?
From the East, I see Virginia Tech coming out. From the West, I see Florida State coming out. From the semifinals, I think everyone has Virginia coming out because Virginia's probably been the most consistent team all year, all the way around. And then North Carolina is, I guess, as evenly been as consistent as Virginia has. And I see those two having to play each other. And I still say North Carolina wins out when they play Virginia.
Virginia, they beat Virginia, and they go to the championship game. So who do you have? Florida State, Virginia Tech.
And I have Virginia Tech beating Florida State to play North Carolina for the championship.
Okay, now let me ask you this question because we haven't spoken a lot about Virginia. Virginia lost in the first round last year, right? And again, when we say Virginia, it's the school. It's not necessarily every last player on the team, right? That was there last year, but there is this sort of specter with Virginia of always disappointing in the tournament, right? Being a tough team, perennially, but then getting into the tournament and not performing as well. Do you think any of that may keep them from getting to the Final Four?
Again, two things happen when adversity happens. Either you rise or you sink. So I think they've done enough sinking, and I kind of think Tony Bennett's not a bad coach. I mean, he's a great coach, I think. And he, some of the players, if you look at their roster, I mean, they don't carry a roster with 3 McDonald's All-Americans or anything like that. They just got players who can play, great players who can play. So for him to always consistently be there shows that he has to be. He's in ACC now, so he's won ACC a couple of times. So that says a lot about him. But now that the players have been through it, a few of the players have been through it, especially the 2 seniors. I don't have the names right off the hands right now, but the guard and the center that they have, power forward per se, are the 2 key players for their team. Those 2 guys have been there, so now it comes upon them to help this team get there because the coach can only do so much. You guys got to play the game, so they got to make it happen. And I think this is the year, with their senior year being in, and they've been there like 3 or 4 times, in their careers, that they've probably finally found the answer. And by looking at them play this year, they seem to have found the answer. So that's the reason I'm giving them so much credit. And they don't have a tough bracket. They don't have the toughest bracket. I mean, they got a pretty easy bracket.
Yeah, I was watching a show earlier this morning, and they said of all the 1 seeds, Virginia probably has the easiest, not that it's easy, but the easiest road to the Final Four among the number 1 seeds.
All right.
Yeah. Okay. So if I can recap here, all right, you have Kentucky coming out in the second round. I'm just looking at some of these notable games that you've talked about. So you got Kentucky coming out in the second round, losing to Wofford. Duke losing in the Sweet 16, Michigan State losing to LSU in the Sweet 16, Florida State over Gonzaga also in the Sweet 16. So some of the iconic programs, you have them coming out early. So we'll see. I mean, it's going to be interesting. Look, every year, right? There are major upsets in the tournament, and I don't expect this year to be any different. But All right, so good. So I wrote down what you said, and I wrote down what you said in pen too. So it can't be changed.
And that's what I like about you, man. You hold me accountable. I love that. I love that.
So, but we'll see with the playing game starting tomorrow and Wednesday, and then we get to the full-fledged tournament on Thursday and Friday. So look, it's going to be exciting, always is, and obviously what we're going to do, L Dub, is that as we go forward and get through these rounds, we're going to have you back, right? Because as the brackets fill out, and we like to get your take on how those brackets stand as we go through the tournament. So we have you down now, but we're going to have you come back again and talk some more about this as we go along.
Not a problem. Not a problem. As it goes along in pencil, I'll be filling in the bracket in pencil, not my bracket. I have an open bracket as it goes along so that I can see, so when people start talking, whether I'm wrong or they're right, I can say, hey, look at this one that's in ink that's been posted as of, and I have the date on it, which was yesterday's date, the 17th. And then I'll do this one here as of the 18th of, whenever the tournament starts. I think it's on the 20th. Yeah, I'll start in pencil, filling them in as it goes. Yeah.
But I know you got confidence in the one you filled out in ink, right?
Well, that's the only reason I did it. That's the only reason hey. Who do I trust? Who do I trust? Yes, sir. Yes,
right. Fair enough. All right. So listen, man, we're going to have you on. Yeah, we'll get back with you toward the end of the week as the tournament gets underway, and we'll start looking at it and talking about what we will expect going forward once these brackets start to shift and change a little bit. So we look forward to having you come back real soon. Probably by the weekend we'll probably have to connect again and see where we are at that point.
Not a problem. I appreciate it, and I'm looking forward to it.
All right, L Dub. So we'll catch up with you real soon. Thanks again.
Thank you. Have a great day.
You too.